Siri. I'm looking for a new podcast, one that preferably is hosted by a UF Hall of Famer, one that airs every weekday that would bring me everything I need to know about the Florida Gators, including news, analysis, and opinions. Siri, is there such a show?
Have you heard of PodUp with Mathews in the morning on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, or any podcast platform?
Oh my gosh, why didn't I think of that? UF Hall of Famer Shane Mathews has a show every weekday. I'm gonna go check it out tomorrow. Thanks, Siri.
Good morning, live edition of PodUp with Mathews in the morning from the International Diamond Center Studios, where all jewelry purchases in June are 0% APR until 2030. They're the only diamond and jewelry partner of the Florida Gators. Got a lot to talk about today. We'll have JC here momentarily. Then we'll have Blake Alderman. He'll give us all the recruiting updates for the Mighty Gators. You got Game 3. They're spacing this thing out, folks. Game 3 of the NBA Finals tonight. JC and I will do our Peachland Dental picks for the U.S. Open, which cranks up tomorrow morning. And then I'm sure JC has some big winners for you folks for the College World Series. It cranks up on Friday. Let's go to the Titan Number Hotline, courtesy of Comfort Tent. We're joined by Horn Dog himself from the back porch. What are we wearing today?
Well, we're going to go with the Panthers, who are up 2-1, of course. We've been on them now since the beginning. After that game against Tampa Bay, when I saw them in Game 1 in Tampa, I told people I was with that this team was going to win it. And they are 2 games away from doing that against Edmonton, who is missing one of their best players, and it's really starting to show physically, and that would be Zach Hyman. They are missing him, and it is proving out that Florida can just beat you physically in the muck, in front of the net, forecheck, everything that's required to win the Stanley Cup. Florida does better than anybody, in my opinion. Now, Edmonton can score with all of them, but so can Florida. They're just better offensively than they were in the Stanley Cup win last year when they took it in 7. But this show, or my segment here, I'm going to really pound the U.S. Open, only because not only is it my favorite major, but it truly is the hardest tournament to win. And in this field, I honestly think that there's really only about maybe 5 or 10 guys that even remotely have a chance. You're looking at rough that's going to be 5 to 6 inches. You're looking at greens that are going to run between 14 and 15 on the step meter. There will be some rain on Saturday, but with the sub-air system that they have in these greens, they will dry out in literally minutes. So that's always going to be the case in this tournament, rain or no rain. And if it does rain, the rough is going to be even harder for these guys to hit the ball out of, and they are going to hit it in there. And so when you think about this, you've got to consider accuracy, but you also have to consider length. Now, there have been longer courses than this in the U.S. Open. Torrey Pines was longer than this. There are other courses that have been longer than this, but this course has probably the longest par 3s I've ever seen on tour. And so the hole-in-one prop, I would not take that if you're thinking about taking the hole-in-one prop.
What is that?
The hole-in-one prop is good. It gives you these big odds. It's a yes or no bet. And I would look closer at the no than the yes. Then, of course, we have the College World Series. You mentioned that. We have basketball tonight, Game 3. You mentioned that. I'm over 5.5 on that series. But if Oklahoma City wins it, I think they'll win it in 5, which means I think they're going to win the next 3 games if they indeed win this series. But I'm hoping that Indiana and Oklahoma City split these next 2 games. In that case, you win the over 5.5 bet. So a couple things also with the College World Series. Rocco's is going to be happening with the LSU and the Arkansas fans. They're going to take up all the Jello shots. I don't really anticipate Murray State.
How much do one of the Jello shots cost, JC?
I think when you go to Omaha, you don't really think about it. You just throw your plastic out there and you look at the damage when you get home. But I'm going to say probably between $3 and $5.
I bet it's more than that.
You think it's more? Well, listen, when you think of the volume of Jello shots that the LSU fans drank when the last time they were there, which was not last year, by the way, no team that's in the field this year was in it last year. So 2 years ago when LSU won the Jello shot rampage, I think they had 60 some odd thousand. So if you do the math, that's Rocco is kicking it. Because Jello doesn't cost that much money.
I wonder if Rocco is actually putting anything in those Jello shots.
Well,
think about it. You don't really know.
Yeah, you don't. But, you can kind of taste it maybe that there's a little vodka in there or tequila maybe. And I'm sure it's well brand. I don't think they're using the 1942 tequila on these Jello shots or the the most expensive vodka, but it's going to be a free for all. LSU and Arkansas certainly the favorites on the field, also the favorites for the Jello shots. I would expect to see really no one else even close. There won't be any UCLA Jello shotters there. Louisville, I mean, they're drinking, what do they drink? Mint juleps. Arizona might have some fans there, hardly any. Murray State's probably going to bring some, but they don't have a big fan base. Oregon State has a pretty decent fan base, but they've gone independent basically when the Pac-12 dissolved. And then you have Coastal Carolina out of little old Conway, South Carolina. Not sure how many folks they can afford to bring up there either. But LSU and Arkansas will be the home teams in every single game they play.
Yeah, it's we got a text here on the Titan War text line. It says, "What are y'all's thoughts about reseeding once they get to the College World Series?"
Well,
I'm against it. I'm against it.
Yeah, you're against it.
Here's what I would like. I think baseball needs to do is they need to do like softball, flip the brackets when you go in the losers bracket, right? Because right now, only LSU and Arkansas cannot meet for the national title series because they're on the same bracket. They do not flip in men's baseball for some reason. I do not know why.
Yeah,
but I don't.
Well,
look, the reseeding should not happen because look, it's not some of these teams' faults that the top seeds didn't make it.
Sure, but I don't like seeing Arkansas and LSU, the two favorites, playing in the first game. But again, because they're playing in two separate brackets, I guess it really doesn't matter, does it?
No. You didn't listen to what I just said.
I did listen to what you said.
LSU and Arkansas cannot play for the national title.
Get that.
So the only way those two teams could meet is if they flip the bracket like they do in softball.
Right. But
they do not do that.
But they would do that if they reseeded the teams.
They don't reseed it. That's my point is the reseeding is bull crap.
No. I think if they reseeded the teams, then they would flip the brackets. No?
Right. So no. They would reflip the bracket. If there's talk about reseeding, and then there's talk about flipping the bracket. There's two different deals here.
Okay.
It's not fair to a team like Murray State because if they reseeded them, they're going to put Murray State against Arkansas in the first game. That's not Murray State's fault that they advanced as a non-seeded team.
No, it's not their fault at all. But why does Arkansas have to play LSU in the first game? That's
the way it is. When they came out with the national seeds.
Well, I don't know.
Arkansas could have had a little bit better year, and they wouldn't have been paired up with LSU.
Well, I have a tweet that's got 8,500 views on @JCSaysBet that says reseed them 1-8. See what kind of response I got. Out of the 8,500 views, a handful responded, but it was overwhelmingly in favor of reseeding it. So
right, but if you think about it, it's not fair.
It's not fair that Arkansas has to play LSU. But
JC, hang on, time out.
What?
The reseeding has nothing to do with Arkansas and LSU because they advanced where they were placed before the damn tournament started. So regardless if it was reseeded or not, they're going to play each other.
They still had to. Right, but why?
No. So what you're saying is, if every team that was the number one seed through number 8 advanced, Arkansas and LSU are playing each other no matter what.
Arkansas and LSU are playing each other no matter what.
If Chalk had gone through the entire tournament, LSU and Arkansas are still playing each other in the first game.
1-8, 2 verse 7, 3 verse 6. What am I missing?
Arkansas is playing LSU, yes or no?
Yes, but that's not. I'm talking about reseeding in 1-8.
You're not listening to what I'm saying.
I guess I don't follow you.
Let's say number 1 through number 8 all make to the College World Series.
1-8, you mean national?
Every national seed that was 1-8 won and made it.
That's a
hypothetical. Are you going to reseed that? I'm asking.
Well, not if they 1-8. I guess.
Okay. So my point of the point is, if all the Chalk 1-8 makes it to Omaha, Arkansas and LSU are still the 3 and the 6, and they're playing each other. Okay. Just because these guys got upset does not have any bearing on why they should reseed these two guys.
You're dealing in a crazy hypothetical.
No,
I'm not talking about what the reality is. The reality is that Arkansas and LSU I don't like seeing them play in the first game.
I agree with that, but it's not fair to who's Murray State playing right now?
Murray State, I'd have to look at the bracket. I don't have it in front of me, but
okay.
I think they're playing.
The point is Murray State is playing somebody that's probably not a 1 through 8 seed, right?
Most likely. I don't have it.
Why do you not have? Why do you should know who they're playing?
I should have the bracket in front of me. I'm just
okay. So there's no reason if you reseed it, Murray
you don't
State
have the bracket in front of you either.
Because I don't really care. I'm just saying Murray State should not have to play the best team just because they earned the spot to get there. They should not be reseeded, is my point. I disagree with that 100%.
First of all, if they were reseeded, Murray State would be 8 because they were the 4th seed going in.
That's what I just said.
Right.
They would be the 8th seed, and they would have to play the 1 seed, and that's not right.
Well, it's right for the 1 seed.
It's not because
it is.
JC.
1 plays 8. QB, what's this so hard for you?
That's if chalk follows through. But there's
just seed them and make it 1 through 8 based on seeds. I don't know why this is so complicated. Listen,
it's not complicated because you set the tournament before the damn thing starts. Once you get results, you shouldn't go in there and rechange it. Is my point.
Well, I don't.
Okay, so let me ask you this.
I don't see why that's
you have the NFL playoffs. Okay, wild card round.
Mm-hmm.
So and so wins. Well, they upset so and so. Should we reseed them and play somebody else?
No, you reseed them before the playoffs.
Okay, that's what I just said. The playoffs started before the regionals are the playoffs in baseball.
Yeah.
The next round is the super regionals. Then it's the College World Series. They're different rounds. You do not change it. If you're going to change it, you change it before the damn tournament starts. It's just stupidity to anybody to think that Murray State, who is by the way, they had to go to extra innings to even win their conference tournament, and they deserved it. They were a 4 seed. They deserve to play whoever they're playing, which is UCLA, which I think is the 15 seed. So there's no reason Murray State should have to get rid of UCLA and go play Arkansas. 0. Nobody will ever change my mind on that.
Anyway, more importantly, in the U.S. Open this weekend, we have Scotty Scheffler at 3-1. He is the favorite. And Bryson DeChambeau is plus 750. QB, forget about the damn baseball, all right, and the seedings. They're going to play anyway, and it's going to the best team's going to win probably. Okay, it's going to be either LSU or Arkansas in all likelihood. I really believe that. I think the chalk wins. They're just the better teams. Doesn't mean they're going to win, but that's probably what's going to happen. I'll tell you what. I'll take LSU and Arkansas, and you take the other 6. You want to do that?
I agree. I think LSU.
You're worried about nothing. Nobody cares about this 1 through 8 seeding thing. I mean, it's not.
You put it on your dumbass Twitter.
Well, I got a response. I got a lot of people saying yes, do it. But you're ground in like it's.
No, I am just stating a fact that I think it's bull crap that anybody even thinks that's even a possibility and why they would even do that. That's
because
stupid.
Here's why. I'll say it one last time, and I'm not going to talk about it. Arkansas and LSU are playing in the first game.
That's not their fault.
I know it's not.
So to answer your question, where was Arkansas ranked before the tournament started?
3.
Where was LSU ranked? 6.
6.
Okay. To your argument, if you have a problem with that, tell Arkansas win more games and you would have been a 1 seed and you wouldn't be playing Arkansas in Omaha.
So the way I look at the 8 teams in Omaha today is different than the way I looked at all of the teams before the tournament. Because
so we're going to reseed people every round of the NCAA basketball tournament?
No, we're just going to reseed these 8 teams in the College World Series.
I think that's dumb. That's dumb as crap. That's the dumbest thing ever brought to.
I don't know why it's so dumb. Why is it so dumb?
Because the NCAA tournament is the tournament. The World Series is the championship round. You don't change it.
Okay,
let me ask you this. Okay, this will be the last thing, then we're going to move on. Let me ask you this.
Go ahead.
On the PGA Tour, do they have a world match play? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. They seed the players. Okay. 1 through 60, whatever, however many they do. There are upsets. when they get to the final 8, do they go, oh man, Scotty Scheffler is the number 1 player in the world, but he's not here, so maybe we need to reseed it? No,
I don't
play.
But I'm not talking about golf. I'm talking about baseball.
It's the same. It's a tournament format.
I mean, yeah, but it's a different sport. I don't like it.
No, but it doesn't matter. Okay,
The
so
team
JC,
sport,
let me ask you this.
golf is
So okay,
individual.
go back to this. Let's just say you got the final 8 in the golf tournament. Scotty Scheffler is playing Bryson DeChambeau in the first round of that final 8.
Yeah, I'm not.
You think they should? Do you want to? Since they're the two, but you think they're the 2 best golfers? Do you think you need to reseed
again, you're
it?
talking about an individual sport. I'm talking about a team.
It doesn't matter.
Well, it does to me. So
Doesn't
that's why.
matter.
Well, it does to me. It matters to me because the 2 best teams shouldn't be. That's what they do in hockey. I don't like the way they do that either.
I mean, tell me one sport that reseeds stuff.
Well, I mean,
if you do that, why even put people in a position?
well, I mean, QB in the NFL, a division winner is seated in front of a team that has a better record. Is that right? No. So you reseed it. That's my case.
No, but it doesn't
Well,
happen.
that's the same thing. I mean, it does. I mean, like, why would the Seattle Seahawks at 7-9 be the 4th seed over a team
Because
that
the
11
rules are if you win your division,
right? I know
there
what
are
the
rules.
rules are. That's what I know.
it's just like the rules of this NCAA baseball
rules.
tournament is if you're the 1 seed, you're the 1 seed throughout if you win. If you lose, you go home.
So all I'm saying is you don't deserve to be a higher seed than a team with a better record than you. Okay. And in the NFL, they should.
There are teams in the NCAA baseball tournament that have better records that are lower seeds than other people.
Not the same. We're talking the NFL and baseball, 2 different things. So I mean, 2 different things. QB. The NFL has 17.
You'll never ever convince me.
Okay.
Reseeding
Well, guess what?
is the right thing to do.
I will never ever try to convince you. How's that?
Yeah, because it's stupid.
Okay. Well, thank you so much.
Yes,
But
it's very
I
stupid.
did get 8,500 views on that, and most
they're
people
dumb too because they.
Okay. Well, everybody's dumb, QB. How about that? Well, you live in a
there are a
dumb
lot
world.
of people that don't have
How
common sense
How
in
do
the
you
world
function in such a dumb world, QB?
because there's
no
a
idea.
lot of dumbass people that don't have common sense,
Right. Okay.
and that's a common sense rule.
Yeah. Okay. So, okay. Are we done with the college baseball now, or do you want to pick the winner?
Yeah, we're done with it.
Do you want to pick the winner? You want to wait till
I think Arkansas or Coastal Carolina are going to win it.
Coastal Carolina? All right. I'll take. Well, I'll wait until we get to your announcement of the sponsor of our picks. The reason why Bryson DeChambeau to me seems like such a natural pick for this tournament is because of how he plays in these majors. 5th at the Master, tied for 2 at the PGA, 1 at Wingfoot, very similar course last year. He's going to be one of my picks. You can get him at 7.5 to 1. Joaquin Niemann on the Live Tour has won, I think, 2 out of the last 4 times he's played. He is plus 2,500. That's 25 to 1. He is definitely a guy you want to look at for the top 10. He tied for 8th at the PGA. I definitely think as a number 2 guy ranked in driving distance the last 36 rounds he's played, he's the guy that you want to kind of look at for odds, at least in the top 10. That'd be Joaquin Niemann. Scotty Scheffler, you get 3 to 1. Enough said about him. Oberg, your favorite player, back-to-back top 16s. He's 22.5 to 1. And you can get Rory to miss the cut at 3 to 1.
All right, so we need to do our Peachland Dental picks. Gator Nation's number 1 choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte surrounding areas. Go visit them at peachlanddental.com. I picked first since I won last week. I will take Xander Schauffele.
Okay, QB. You want to tell me why, or just
because he's a very good ball striker and he's going to be in the hunt.
That's brilliant. Okay. I like Xander. I would have picked him too, and you can get him at 22.5 to 1, trying to get over that back injury. But the Xander, 7 of 8 career starts in the top 10 or better at the US Open. 7 out of 8. And he's never finished worse than 14th. So a top 10 or top 20 bet on him would be pretty smart, I think. I'm going to take Bryson DeChambeau.
All right, you can have Bryson. I will take Ludwig Oberg.
Okay, yeah. I just mentioned him, and his stats. Top 16. Pretty solid player, obviously. Okay, let's go with, and we're prohibited from taking Scotty, right? You put the ban on Scotty.
Yeah, I mean, why? I mean, it makes it no fun.
Makes it no fun. Well, it'll be fun when you win that bet at 3-1.
Well, that's fine, but you're not betting me.
I could
call the Hard Rock.
I could bet you. I'm going to take a guy I would not normally pick, and again, I hate taking another live player, but I think he's starting to come into form. And I think you can get him as the top European at 4-1. Who would I be talking about there, QB?
The top European
At 4-1, yeah. And I'm not saying Rory. He's not.
Tommy Fleetwood, maybe?
It'd be John Rahm. I'm going to take
John
him.
Rahm.
Yeah.
All right. Give me Russell Henley.
Russell Henley. Ooh. Okay. All right. I'm going to take a long shot here because I think this guy, who, by the way, won at the Farmers at Torrey Pines, the rough certainly wasn't as bad during this tournament, but Harris English, you can get at 75-1 right now. I think he's definitely a top 5, top 10 possibility. I don't know about winning it, but you never know. I mean, you get on Sunday, rainy weather, delays, all that kind of stuff brings some of these other players maybe into the field. So I'm going to take Harris English.
He was my next pick.
Oh, no, I took him from you.
All right, give me Ben Griffin.
What? Okay, Ben Griffin. All right. I'm going to go with this Neiman. I think he's got a chance. Yeah, Neiman. Joaquin Neiman.
All right. And let's see, my last pick will be, give me, well, give me Justin Rose.
Okay. Yeah, very solid consistency. Always in the hunt on these majors. I don't know why this.
We're actually picking 5. I had.
Yeah. You just picked 5.
I did?
Yeah, you got X, Aberg, Henley, Griffin, and Rose. I can't decide whether I want Sugar Shane Lowry or if I want to go with somebody like Tony Finau. I'm going to take Sugar Shane Lowry. I don't know why. I just think with the rough, the way it is. I love his accuracy. I love his short game. Give me Shane Lowry. Good enough.
All right, to recap the Peachland Dental picks for the U.S. Open, I have Xander Schauffele, Russell Henley, Ludwig Oberg, Ben Griffin, and Justin Rose. JC has Bryson DeChambeau, John Rahm, 2 live guys.
Okay.
Harris English, you got 3 live guys. Joaquin Newman.
Yeah, I don't like it.
And Shane Lowry.
I don't like it at all, actually. But I would have taken Scotty, and I did in some of these other contests I'm in, and I definitely bet him at plus 300. You won't see plus 300. I don't think during the round. So you want to get them beforehand, just like you wanted to take Murray State, like I told you to do on Monday before they played Duke, because at that time you were getting 100-1, and now you're getting 20-1. So people love Murray State. I love Murray State. I like to see them win. I think in the College World Series, no, I'm going to go with the favorites. I'm going to take Arkansas. I said I was going to take the 2 SECs. I'm going to take Arkansas and LSU. I know one of them is going to beat the other, but I think they're good enough. One of these teams are good enough to come out of the losers bracket. And since they only have 4 teams they have to worry, or 3 other teams they have to worry about in their little bracket, their sub bracket there, I think either one of these teams can come out of the losers bracket and easily win that. So I'm going to go with that. You get to the final series, you play a 2 out of 3 scenario against the team from the other side. I wish, like you, that they would flip them, from bracket to bracket.
You want them to reseed.
Well, I don't think there's any problem with that, but I know that's not going to happen. But
right.
I don't think there's any. It's not like I'm sitting here saying I really want them to do this. I'm just suggesting that maybe it's a good idea.
But listen to Asa right here on Facebook Live. He says,
"Well, he's going to agree with you because Asa hasn't said one thing to agree with me
listen, JC, it's
of this show
JC,
5 years ago. So
let's talk about common sense.
I already know what Ace is going to say. He's going to say Shane is right, Jason's an idiot, and that's how it's going to be. Go ahead, QB. Tell me what he says.
It's common sense. He says, I get what Shane is saying because the regionals start the playoffs. It's like in basketball. You have 64 teams. What you're saying is when you get to the Elite Eight, you reshuffle the teams. Why the hell would you do that?
It's
And
not.
then Dan says that's part of the fun. Like when Florida had to play George Mason in the '06 Final Four. It wasn't
Okay,
Florida's fault that George Mason
tell
won the
me.
game.
Well, I'm just saying, I had 8,500 views, and the majority
Well, those
were in
people,
favor of it.
they
Are
well,
they all idiots, really?
yes, because think about it, JC. Just think about it. Let's say your school, Alabama, who upset somebody in baseball because they were okay. They say they made it to the College World Series and they're going to play Murray State. And they say, oh, wait a second. We're going to let them play the Arkansas Razorbacks instead because we're going to reseed them. That's not how it works. It's a tournament. You are seated at the beginning of the tournament for a reason. There's no reason to freaking change it.
I like the lower seeds playing the higher seeds. I think that's the way it should be.
Well, that's how it is when it starts. It's not the higher seed's fault for beating a lower seed or vice versa.
What?
It's not their fault. That's why you play the game.
Yeah, I know. But, I mean, the way they do it is the way they do it.
So you think Murray State should be the 8th seed in the tournament because
they have the longest odds.
That's fine. That's fine.
So they are the least expected to win.
I agree, and they should be because they shouldn't even be in the tournament. The damn
I didn't say that. I didn't say
They
that.
have a 700-seat stadium where the coach mows the damn grass. The player, it's just like high school. The players take care of the field. It's a great story.
I hope
It's
they
not
win.
their fault that they have upset people and they're playing in the College World
I hope
Series.
they win. I hope they win it all. Okay, great. But
Would you like for them to be the 1 seed?
That would never happen. They were a 4 seed in the regional. That would be like a 13 going to the Final Four. Okay,
Right. And so
I understand why that team plays whoever they play on the other side of the bracket. You wouldn't reseed them. I get that. But when in baseball, when you have so many games and you have so many sample sizes and you have so many teams, I think the team that did the best over the long slog of the season should be rewarded if they get to the pinnacle, and that's the final 8 teams in the College World Series.
Okay.
Rewarding them means
okay.
not having to play LSU. That's
Well, okay. I go back to you just talked about having a great season.
That's
If
it.
LSU or Arkansas had won more games, they wouldn't be the 3 and the 6.
The 3 out of how many teams is pretty damn high, QB.
Okay. Well, it's not Arkansas should
Why
not
does
be
the 3
rewarded.
well, why should
Arkansas
they have
should
to
not be
play-
rewarded because the 1 and the 2 seed got upset.
But why should a 3 have to play a 6 instead of a
Because it was
29?
already there. That's how it's going to work if chalk happened.
It was there because of the way they were placed in the
Okay.
brackets before all this happened.
Exactly. So
Right.
my point is whoever the committee is, D1 baseball, whoever does this, the slotting, blame them. They should have said, okay, is Arkansas better than the 3 seed or is LSU better than 6 seed? Well, who's the 1 and the 2? That they can't control who wins or loses.
No, I understand that, but I'm not trying to penalize anybody. I'm just trying to reward the teams that deserve it. To me, that's the top seed.
Well, they deserve it because they won the games they were supposed to win and they got to the pinnacle, which is the
Sure.
World Series.
Sure. But the team
Just because they got there does not mean, well, the 1 and the 2 lost, so we're going to reward you as the 1 seed. No, that ain't the way sports works.
Well, I don't. So when the NFL playoffs happen and the top seed gets the week off and the other teams have to play, is it because somebody chose that or is it because they deserve
They had the
it?
best record.
Right. So Arkansas's record is probably better than Murray State's, right?
But my point is okay, so if that's the point, then give the top 4 seeds in the baseball tournament, don't make them play a regional. You're comparing football because it's not a tournament. It is a tournament, but you have an odd number, so somebody has to get rewarded by having an off
The
week.
good news
And
is
that's the
that
best
the good
record.
news is that you seem to care about this a lot more than I do.
No, you're the one that put it down in your damn Twitter poll.
I just wanted to see what kind of response I would get.
Okay.
Well,
Well, put on there it says, should these teams be rewarded because other teams were upset? No, they should not. Not at all. Not at all.
well, I don't know. I don't think Arkansas cares who was upset. I just don't think they should have to play LSU in the first game.
But they would be playing LSU if all 8 seeds won. So what's
Yeah,
the
well,
difference?
you just said there were upsets. So
There were.
okay, so all 8 seeds wouldn't be in it if there were upsets, and there were upsets. So all
Yeah,
eight
there were a bunch of
are in it.
upsets. So as they stated here in the Elite Eight in the basketball, there are tons of upsets all the time. They don't say, okay, oh well, damn, George Mason's in. We need to put them against the best team.
One and two lost. I get it, but
So did
Arkansas lost three.
so did 4 and 5.
Yeah. So
Okay.
three should not have to play six.
Yes, they should, because that's how it was slated when the tournament started.
Only if the top eight were there. Yes.
No.
But
Okay, so what if seven? What if one team got upset? We're still going to reseed it?
I mean,
No, it's anyway. All right, JC. Andy says you need to put on the poll who won the debate today. I think it'd be a landslide.
I know what I tweeted, and I know how many responses I got, who said yes and who said no.
All right, we got to get to Blake Alderman and talk about
Ask
something.
Blake what he thinks.
I will. Blake's
first.
he's probably not a baseball guy. That's JC joins on the Titan More Hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temp. Come back. We'll be joined by Blake Alderman, talk a little Gator recruiting. You're watching and listening to PodUp with Mathews in the morning from the International Diamond Center Studios. We'll be right back.
Our premium sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union,
International Diamond Center,
Meldon Law, QC Kinetics, UF Health Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute, JF Hayden Craft Liqueurs, Florida Cracker Kitchen, Los Linderos Tequila. Gridiron sponsors are Baker Sporting Goods, Cogent Bank, Comfort Temp, Electronics World, Florida Victorious, Gallo Car Wash, Miapa Latin Cafe, Peachland Dental, Quality Plumbing, Ruse Ogre State Farm, Silverback Concrete, 84 Lumber, Big Mills Cheesesteak, Celebrate Primary Care, Dowling Sign, Gator Bait Media, Gator Dominoes, Ironwood Golf Course, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, UF Bookstores, Nest and Wow, MG&A Wealth Management. Watch and listen to us live on Facebook and YouTube. Listen to the podcast whenever on Apple or Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. To become a sponsor, call my man Freddie at 352-284-3733.
Naysayers. Setbacks. Injuries. Life throws a lot of hurdles your way. The key is just keep jumping them.
Coach, it always impressed me how you beat Florida State to win the 1996 National Championship.
And I was really impressed with your 06, 08, and 09 Gator teams.
And the way you coached Danny to the Heisman Trophy.
A lot like what you did with Tim Tebow.
You know, you won more SEC championships than you lost home games at the Swamp.
And you had plenty of super games in front of our Gator Nation.
Yeah, there really is something special about the Swamp.
I guess that's why we say about the Swamp, only the Gators get out alive.
To the Swamp and the Gators, with the best beverage served at Spur's Gridiron Grill, 100% agave Los Linderos tequila, aged in bourbon barrels for a smoother taste.
I think you mean Head Beer Coach 1966 lager, a crisp, light, bodied lager for easy drinking.
Nope. Los Linderos tequila, smooth enough to drink neat and bold enough to elevate a cocktail.
1966 lager, enjoyed on game days in the fall or whenever you need a winning cold brew.
Los Linderos tequila.
1966 lager.
Los Linderos.
1966 lager.
Y'all stop bickering.
Okay, you're both wrong anyway. The best thing Spurrier's Gridiron Grill offers are Jerry's famous chocolate chip cookies.
Welcome back to the International Diamond Center Studios, Miapa Latin Cafe. Discover the ultimate Cuban culinary experience at Miapa Latin Cafe. 5 locations in Gainesville and Alachua, never far from the best Cuban food north of Miami. Back to the Titan Number Hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temp. We're joined by Blake Alderman from On3 Sports. How you doing, my man?
Good. How are you guys?
Pretty good. Blake, all right, so the Gators seem like doing pretty well on the recruiting front. Tell us what's going on, what fans can expect here in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, just to kind of give a little bit of a recap, Florida's already had 3 official visit weekends. that goes all the way back to the middle of May up to now. This coming weekend will be their last official visit weekend of the summer. So they'll host right now on Wednesday. I have 14 official visitors set to be in town this weekend, but the official visit list is usually a work in progress as the week goes on. So Friday should have a better idea by then. So going through these official visits, the next weekend on June 20th and 21st, they'll have Friday Night Lights, which is now a 7-on-7 camp that Friday, followed by their Grill in the Ville cookout on that Saturday next weekend, which is basically just a big recruiting cookout where coaches welcome prospects to town. They hang out there for an unofficial visit, get to spend some time with coaches, play some games, eat some food. So it's been a busy weekend between official visits, unofficial visits. They've got camps going on, summer 7-on-7 tournaments on campus. And in between that, Florida's gone from going into the official visit season with 1 commitment and now sitting at 7. And this past weekend, going into Monday, was a pretty productive run for Florida where they landed 3 commitments in about 2 days. So it's a busy June. It's always a busy June every year with these guys taking visits and setting these commitment dates. So this year is no different.
Yeah. What can you tell us about the 3 kids that verbally committed in the last couple of weeks?
Well, this past weekend, Florida started that off with the commitment of 4-star Justin Williams. He's a wide receiver. Realistically, he's kind of just an athlete out of Gainesville Buchholz, listed as a wide receiver, like I said, which is what I think he'll play in college. But he's a guy that is, I believe, since 2002, he was the first prospect since Devin Hester in 2002 to have 1,000 yards rushing and 1,000 yards catching. So that's, that's a ball player right there. I think he'll fit kind of that Eugene Wilson type role where you can have a guy that's a slot receiver, can use him as a little bit of a gadget guy, and I think that he fits really well into that. Florida, they've wanted to sign 5 offensive linemen this cycle. They had 1 already, and they landed their 2nd this past weekend with Chancellor Campbell. He's a 3-star offensive tackle out of St. Petersburg, Lakewood. That's the same high school that Dante Fowler came out from several years back. And I mean, this is a guy that 3-star, and I know everyone's like, oh man, 3-star. I mean, this is a guy that is 6'8", 310 pounds. He looks every bit of it. He's long. I think he's somewhere around like an 84.5 to an 85-inch wingspan. He's just a large human, and he's athletic. He's only played football. I want to say this is going into his 2nd or 3rd year playing football, so he is very raw in some areas. But the frame, the athleticism, the upside, all those things are checked off a lot of boxes. And this is a guy that had visited Georgia before he was at Florida. I think he's been to Florida somewhere around like 10 or 11 times. So this was kind of a long time coming. Guy that was viewed as a Florida lean. Florida goes into that official visit and gets that done coming out of that visit. And the last guy, 3-star tight end Kikua Amua, who is at Bradenton, Florida IMG Academy, but this is a guy that's from Hawaii. He moved to IMG, I want to say it was last year, from Hawaii. His family still lives out in Hawaii. And he's another one that we thought he was leaning towards Florida going into that official visit. He got offered in December, was there for one of Florida's bowl practices when they were prepping for the Tulane game, and I think he's visited somewhere around 4 or 5 times. Official visit this past weekend, had his entire family in town. Going into the OV, mom and sister had visited twice with the prospect. So these guys are coming all the way from Hawaii to visit with Florida. Comes back this weekend, has mom, sister, dad, grandmas out there. Florida's done a really good job with recruiting him. Russ Calloway in particular built a really good connection with him. And this is another guy that's kind of a Hayden Hansen type clone. He's somewhere around 6'5", 6'6", 260 pounds. Has run routes for IMG Academy, has played some H-back, some fullback. So he's a guy that has some size, can impact in the passing game. So he's sort of your prototypical type of tight end that Florida's wanted to recruit, a big body that can help in the receiving game and in the run game with his blocking.
Speaking of IMG, this is a text on the Titan Our text line from Jim. He says, Blake, how are the Gators getting into IMG when in the past we never had much success?
I don't know. Like if there's really like a single reason why. I think that one thing for sure is that once you get over the hump, you get that first guy, you start to build relationships, you start to have familiarity. And I think that I want to say Napier was like, there used to be a thing that fans and media would talk about, like the IMG curse, where Florida for all these years couldn't break into IMG Academy. I think they had one commitment at one point, Shavar Manuel, several years back, but eventually he didn't sign. So Florida's, still sitting there, was waiting for them to sign their first guy from IMG Academy. I want to say Najee Harris several cycles back was the first guy that Florida signed and had committed from IMG Academy off the top of my head. So I think you get that first kind of hat to fall on there, and then there's familiarity. This staff, you have a big staff that even if it's not the position coach or the coordinator or the head coach or who have you, you have the recruiting staff, you have the off-field guys, you have the GAs, all these guys that are recruiting these kids. So I think having that big staff lets these guys know that they're wanted, and Florida prioritizes that. It's a place they always visit, whether it's spring, fall, or whatever those times in the contact period. And I just think that eventually, once you start stacking up some commitments, you start having some of these guys that are in your program that they're familiar with it. I feel like that's kind of just some of the things at Georgia and Alabama, these schools that have had the success with guys from IMG Academy. These guys come and visit, whether it's an unofficial or an official visit to whatever campus, and you see all these other IMG Academy guys there. You see how they're doing as far as their development, their growth in the program. And I just feel like that sort of gives them like a comfortable feeling. And I feel like Florida finally broke through that. And now here we are to where Florida's got two guys from IMG Academy committed in the class this cycle.
Yeah, Andy's question on Facebook Live brought to you by Metal Law. How do you think Buchholz's Justin Williams will fit into the offense in 2026? Do you see him getting on the field? I want to chime in. I'll let you talk about it. And please don't take this the wrong way, people. I don't need a bunch of text messages. But he is the closest, and maybe it's because he plays running back and wide receiver. I just picture, we used to motion Percy Harvin to the backfield and hand him counter plays back in the day. Justin Williams is this type of player, in my opinion.
I agree, and I think that's how he'll be used. I think that coming out of that official visit this past weekend, he was sort of told that, we see you as being sort of that Eugene Wilson type, that see that Vernell Brown III type of player, someone that is a slot receiver, but has some versatility in his game to where he can be that gadget type of guy. He can get the end arounds. He can get those, trick handoff types of plays. Guy that you're going to put in motion, throw him out something in a screen and let him do his thing there. I mean, he's a playmaker. And I think when I was doing a little bit of a dive into just his season, because you see a guy that's got 1,000 yards rushing, 1,000 yards catching, you're sitting there thinking like, man, that's crazy. And I want to say it was like week 8 or something in the season. They had moved him from wide receiver to running back. So, I mean, this is a guy that got 1,000 yards rushing going from week 8 on through the season. So that makes his stat line a little bit even more crazy.
What's he listed at? How big and how tall?
5'11", 190. I don't know if that's dead on accurate, but if he's not exactly that, he's somewhere around there. So he's kind of got that, smaller frame slot receiver type build.
Yeah, he looks a lot taller than that to me, but yeah, he's a very good player. No question about that. All right, moving forward, we got a text here on the Titan MR text line from James. He says, Blake, who do you think the Gators need to go after for next year's class? I mean, that's a wide open question there, but I guess what can the Gator fans look forward to down the road who we possibly could get a verbal commitment from?
Are we talking 27 class or 26?
I don't know what he says here in the text, so give us whatever you got.
I think in the 26 class, you've got a big visit weekend coming up this weekend. But aside from the official visitors, Florida's got some key unofficial visitors coming to town. Janari Carr, he's a 3-star offensive lineman who is committed to Florida. He committed that May 30th official visit weekend. He will be back in town. It's always good to have your commits in town helping to recruit some of these other guys. And I think some of the other key unofficial visitors, Carson Baker, he's a 4-star running back out of Langston Hughes High School and in Georgia. Florida and Florida State have been the 2 schools he talks up the most. South Carolina is also in there. Texas is trying to get in there. I don't know that anything has been set visit-wise there. Had officially visited Florida that very first official visit weekend on May 16th. And going to that, Florida was on the outside looking in. It was almost kind of felt like a throwaway type of visit, really. Like top 5's already set. Florida's on the outside looking in. Jabbar Jalouk had been urging him to come take a visit. He did. Florida moves into the picture, and as things have progressed over the week, Florida, I give them the edge in his recruitment. I think right now, Florida State battle. I'm watching South Carolina because he's expected to visit them, but he will be in town this weekend for an unofficial visit. So you always sort of raise an eyebrow. You want to track those types of players, someone who's turning around and making an unofficial visit after they've made that OV a couple weeks ago, someone to watch. And I think another guy unofficially that has also taken an official visit in the past to Florida is four-star defensive lineman Jarayla McCoy, a guy that visited May 30th to June 1st OV weekend. It's been a Florida-Texas battle. He actually was supposed to officially visit Texas this weekend. That's off. He'll be on an unofficial visit to Florida. So I think those are two key four-star type players that'll be in town this weekend. I think that those are guys to keep an eye on, obviously with the turnaround, quick visit, Florida in high standing with them. So I think that those could, potentially be the next two additions for Florida if things go well in their visit or sometime shortly after. It's kind of always hard to pin down an exact timeline for these guys, but I give the edge to Florida. I think that their lead for both of those guys, I would say, is pretty wide as these guys take visits. In 27 class, I feel like it is fairly early still. I think for me, I'm always, let's get the quarterback in the class first and sort of build everything around them so that you know who your guy is. You're fishing from a smaller pond with quarterbacks. I think four-star Jace Johnson, who's out of Lowndes High School there in Valdosta, Georgia, in the south end of Georgia. That's a guy that Florida really likes. I think they're still sort of building their 27 board because it is early, and this staff really likes to get the current class of focus out of the way. Not that they ignore the next one, but you really want to kind of get what's in front of you now and then continue to build the next class ahead. But for me, quarterback is always where things start and finish. And I think that Jace Johnson is the guy that I would say is Florida's top guy right now as they continue to evaluate these quarterbacks going into their junior years. But I think that that's, for me, the 27 class. I think Jace Johnson's the one that I think is kind of the key piece that, at least for me, is where I would be focusing on if I'm calling the shots.
Silverback Concrete builds firm foundations for generations. You stand on it, we stand by it. A few more minutes with Blake Alderman. Dan's question on Facebook Live brought to you by Mel Law. Will UF sign a top QB with Lagway still there? They have the kid from Jesuit in Tampa is committed for next year, correct?
Correct. Will Griffin.
Okay, so Will Griffin. And then you said this Jace Johnson kid out of Valdosta is really high on their board. So, okay. This text on the Titan MR text line from Bob in Atlanta. He says, Blake, any truth, and I've talked about this quite a bit on this program, any truth to what Kirby said a couple of weeks ago, how kids are being paid to come on visits and being paid to stay verbally committed?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, I don't have, the proof or seen it with my own eyes or anything like that. But I mean, I think that guys getting a little something to stay committed. I mean, schools do not stop recruiting guys even after they commit somewhere else. You have to have some sort of appeal to get these guys on campus because you're one school trying to get a kid on campus, whether it's an OV or an unofficial visit or whatever. Well, if the guy's got 30-something offers, 40-something offers, and, however many schools of those are pushing, you have to have some sort of tactic to get these guys to your campus. So, you hear these things, whether they're rumors or whatever, you really don't ever have any proof of anything as someone in my field, at least. But, do I believe it? Absolutely.
All right. And this text here before we get you out of here from Roger, he says, Blake, how does Florida rank among the SEC right now in recruiting?
I don't really have the recruiting rankings pulled up in front of me. I think that right now, Florida's probably somewhere around the middle, at least where their ranking sits right now. I think that they do a really good job recruiting some of these guys. Going into the summer, I'm sitting there thinking I'm the type that I always want to see where your class is at coming out of the summer. Once this wave of official visits and this wave of commitment date sets up and you're going into the season because college coaches are clearly focused on their season. High school guys are getting ready for their own fall camp and their own season. So it tends to, I say slow down, but realistically recruiting never slows down. But you get that summer out of the way to where everyone's focus is on finding out where they're going, hosting these guys on visits and trying to make a move. So I always wait to see heading in the season where the class is at. So, and I still feel that way. But Florida is on a little bit of a heater right now. Like I said, they went from one commitment going into OV season to now sitting at 7. They're in really good position with some of those guys, the unofficial visitors coming in town this weekend, like I said, and clearly other guys are going to be setting commitment dates. So there's a lot going on. I think that Florida right now, I think they do a really good job. I think that they're probably somewhere around the middle to high part of the middle in the SEC. I think they do a really good job recruiting. They do a good job building these relationships. And I feel like in this day and age of recruiting with transfer portal and guys are, sort of shopping around, it's kind of crazy. You see some of these guys that are going to the NFL draft and they've got, if they're playing the Senior Bowl, they've got like 3 school stickers that they've been to. They've been to X, Y, and Z school over their college career. I think one thing that Florida does a really good job of is identifying the person. And obviously, there have been guys that have left Florida. It turned out that the fit wasn't for them. It wasn't where they wanted to be, or whatever. Florida recruited over them. There are a lot of options there, but I feel like Florida does a good job identifying the person. They're very upfront in a lot of ways to the recruiting process, to where you don't really see a ton of turnover. Like I said, not zero turnover, but I feel like that's one of the good things, to where you won't see that in a recruiting ranking, to where these guys, it feels like family. There's relationships. There's no change. It's sort of what you see, what you get. And I feel like that's something that's very valuable with recruiting that isn't talked about as much now, just because these guys are, transfer portal has someone there 1 year, gone the next year. So I think that's something that at least stands out to me about how Florida recruits guys.
Yeah. Blake, good stuff as always. Let everybody know how they can follow your stuff, follow you on Twitter, and y'all got any specials going on?
No specials going on right now. I think we'll probably have something there closer to when the season starts. We had one that was running going into the official visit season and spring football. But I'm at Gators Online, the On3 Florida Gators site. I'm there with Keith Niebuhr, Corey Bender, and Zach Albaverdi. So we've got a staff that's recruited, has worked in Florida recruiting and coverage for a long time. It's a growing message board. We've had a lot of really good content, and this summer's certainly kept a lot of us very busy with all these commitments and visits going on. So it's a fun time to be there, and we're excited about this upcoming season. At least my first season here on the beat.
Yep. Blake, good stuff. Appreciate your time, my friend, and we'll talk to you soon.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
That's Blake Alderman. Join us on the Titan Moore Hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temple. Gallo Car Wash, locally owned by UF alum and the only car wash that provides NIL opportunities to Gator athletes. Join our membership and see why Gators hate love bugs. Before we get out of here, let's get this day in sports brought to you by Campus USA Credit Union. Put some star power to work in your financial life at Campus USA Credit Union. We're proud member Steve Spurrier Banks. I meant to get this when JC was here. We were raising hell about reseeding baseball. 2012 Stanley Cup Finals. The LA Kings defeat the New Jersey Devils for their first Stanley Cup title in the Kings' 45-year history. And hopefully they haven't burned down the arena that the Kings play in as we speak. Tomorrow we'll have Brent Beard, college football analyst, doing his thing. And again, I want to thank JC and Blake Alderman for joining us on the Titan Moore Hotline. Don't forget, folks, where is it? Right here. Today, from 4 to 7, Gainesville's premier tequila, Los Landeros Tequila, will be showcased at the Good Pour on Southwest 34th Street. So if you're in town, go check that out. Other than that, hope you have a great day. And let me know if you really want to reseed college